Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Harriet Maloba, your golden girl, back in the kitchen. Today we are having a simple meal, a quick fix of beef stew, tropical rice, and sauté cabbage. So what do we need? We need our beef. When you get your beef, you make sure you come clean it, remove the unwanted bits, the sinews, and then you cut across the grain. You cube, but you begin cutting across the grain so that your beef can cook fast when you begin to cook. When you cut along the grain, you tend to, when it gets into wet cooking, it tends to shrink and therefore it hardens. We need our onion. We just cubed a big onion, 2 tomatoes, 25 grams of plain flour, lemon juice, our cooking oil, ginger and garlic grated, carrots cubed, and we are going to use salt, soy sauce, garlic powder, and the spice for wet and dry fry. So we begin by removing the excess water from the meat by patting with the kitchen absorbent paper. Yeah. Then you put some bit of salt in the flour. Mix it together. You can put a bit of pepper, that is black pepper or white, but minimal, so that the people who don't eat, they should not be affected by it, especially if you have children. Just do a bit for seasoning purposes. So once you have mixed, then you put that flour into the beef. And you coat your flour, your beef. I avoid boiling. What I like doing is sealing in the juices of the meat by putting it in very hot fat. And then I continue adding my ingredients. Then it will simmer for 1.5 hours. That's when now it will soften. So we put a dash of oil. But if your meat is very oily, then you will just put it on its own. So we let it heat a bit. Meanwhile, we come to our rice. So our tropical rice, it's simply, we make rice with a bit of oil, and then when it's ready, we will put our tropical fruits. You can have pineapple, apple, and a bit of the dry fruits. You can also have mango, whatever fruit that you would want to put that is tropical. That's why I called it, it comes from the tropical regions. That's why I call it tropical rice. So we will only add value with the fruits. Then with our cabbage, we are just shredding, and then we saute in onion rings, just like that, with just briefly, like for 3 minutes. So we can also put our rice at the same time. Our oil is ready for the beef. So we can put in the beef. So we clean our rice, ready to put here. Our water has already boiled. We put our rice. We add some salt. Just a teaspoon. You can also add some white pepper. If you take pepper, add it at this juncture. You can see our meat is sealing in. So with this method, the flavors of the meat will come out the time when we will add our stock, and leave it to simmer. Reduce the heat and leave it to simmer for 1.5 hours until it softens. So you can see the rice. Once it has turned color like that, we can add in the water. It's always 2.5 for this type of rice. The ratio is 1 to 2. So I had used this 1.5, so I'll put 3. Remember, I say we try and minimize the time in our kitchen, so you can have all your pots at the same time. Once we put the meat to simmer, that's when we will do the vegetables, because the vegetables take only 5 minutes. And to retain the nutrients, you only cook it just before eating. So that's why we are going to cook it at the end. Completely sealed. And the pan is clear, there is no oil. We try to avoid using a lot of oil and use the natural oil from the beef. So once you have it like that, now we can begin adding the onions, ginger, and garlic. So we continue turning our meat as the onions are sweating. You can see now the meat begins to becoming wet. So we add our ginger and garlic. So you can see our meat. We can have add the spices. It doesn't have the liquid yet, just the liquid from the onion. So we'll have the garlic powder. And the wet and fry. We always put them so that they can be able to cook before we add in the liquid, because if you add the liquid before they are cooked, they will not mix well with your dishes. And a bit of the soy sauce. You allow them to cook together until the onions and the other spices are cooked without adding any liquid or adding any like tomatoes, which have a lot of water. So we'll put them when the onions and all the other spices are completely cooked. So in the process, we can see our rice is also coming up, and then we will also begin the cabbage that we are not putting now because this one cooks very fast. I want to only steam it briefly for like 2 minutes. So we can continue shredding our cabbage as we wait, because I like my cabbage shredded, not cubed. It becomes easy. Everything comes out almost at the same time. If you are using the shredder, you make sure you either use the holder to hold the whatever you are shredding, or you be very careful because this blade is very sharp and it can easily chop you. So we are ready with this. Don't forget with your pots. You can put in the carrots. And the tomatoes. And we go to our rice, it's drying up. So this we are going to transfer to the small burner so that it can dry slowly. So we reduce completely and transfer our rice there so that it can dry slowly. So we are going to reduce the heat to simmering point. And at that juncture, we will be finishing our cabbage. So put your heat completely down and let it now cook slowly. When you cook it, you boil it so hard, instead of softening, it will harden, and that's what we are avoiding. So now we can proceed to our cabbage. So we can have some bit of oil. So we are not going to brown the onions, we are only going to sweat before we add the cabbage.
So here we are basically finishing up our stew. So we check on it and figure that the tomatoes are cooked. So we are going to get our stock, the one we had put aside, and add on into the beef. Then we shall let it simmer for a few minutes for everything to marry and the beef to tenderize and cook well. Then we shall reduce the heat for the process to continue, after which we are going to add our lemon juice that we had also put aside once it cooks. So yeah, we'll finish up with the lemon juice and dania for garnishing, and then we are going to also finish our rice with the fruits that we had set aside and saute our cabbage as well. Then we'll be done with the process of cooking, and then we shall be able to plate. So yeah, here we are, and sorry for the technical issues on our microphone, but yeah, that's a brief explanation of what was going on. So keep watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe. There's much more to learn about this meal as you continue watching the video.
Don't put big chunks, just put enough good size of cubes. By adding these fruits, when the rice has come out of the heat, we are actually adding value to our rice. We try as much as possible to preserve the nutrients of the food that we give to our family. We remove our rice pot. And make sure we have all what we want in it before we plate. Before they oxidize, make sure you put them in. Together with the pineapples. So if you had your mangoes, you would also put. You can still opt for nuts. You could have cashew nuts and ground nuts. Whatever is available in your house that maybe remained, and just use it, add value to your rice. But today, since I had these tropical fruits with me, that's why I decided to have the tropical rice and see how it looks. So I have it ready for plating. We're going to use a bit of the cucumber for garnishing. So we will also squeeze onion in them. I mean lemon juice in them, so that we can remove the aftertaste that people don't like and develop some tangy flavors. These are just for garnishing. But remember, I said use garnish that is going to be a garnish that is edible. So onion rings, Separate and sweat the rings before you add in your cabbage. And we are going to do just a dash of heat. We are not going to overcook it. It's advisable if you're doing cabbage, then just do enough that you're going to eat, to consume once, because once it stays overnight, or it stays by the evening if you prepared it over lunch hour, and then you take it back to the heat to recook, it tends to overcook, and it becomes a bit not very interesting to many people. So to avoid that, just cut or shred enough for that particular meal, because it's not hard to cook. Unless maybe if it had overstayed, it had remained, then in the next meal, reshuffle it by maybe mixing with meat, or mixing it with whatever stew you are making, or whatever dish, to avoid it being eaten on its own, to be reheated again and be returned back. There are people who like mixing beef and cabbage and eating with ugali when they are already mixed together. So we sweat the onions, we don't brown them. So once they're in that form, then now we can add our cabbage, and we will put a dash of dhania. So once all your pots are already cooking up, you can now prepare your plating, where you're going to place the food and serve your food while hot. So now we can season. You can have salt, It's almost ready. We can correct also our salt in the beef as we check how the beef is it's cooking well. Remember we had put salt in the flour that coated the beef. So our brown beef stew is now just simmering. We are almost serving. Our rice is ready. Our vegetables are ready. So these are our garnishes. We put them there as we clear the surface. So once our stew pot is ready, you can see the sauce has reduced. Now we will put the lemon juice to dress it up with the dhania before we plate. We can plate our food. We are going to mold our rice. Always present your food for your people. As I've always said. So the rice will be at the tip of our plate because the protein is supposed to be towards the person. So if this is how it will, I'll be sitting here, then the protein has to be here. The vegetables can be on either side, and the starch has to be at the tip. So that is our starch. We can garnish Then you can have our beef. Together with the sauce. And we have our vegetable. And you can garnish. So our plate is ready. Make sure you place the cutlery for the guests, because rice, uh, the vegetables, and the stew can both be eaten by the joint fork and knife. So you can place them as usual, the fork on the left, the knife on the right. I think we have come to the end of our video, guys. Thank you so much for watching my content. Every meal that I'll be producing in this kitchen, I'll be sharing it with you, so that you can also have ideas of what you can prepare for your families. Thank you for the please subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe for the new people who have come to watch for the first time. Please don't forget to subscribe. For the old subscribers, please let's continue together as we learn and explore our kitchens. Thank you and God bless you.